Hello and welcome to the Racing Postcast, proudly sponsored by Unibet, and your Saturday is sorted. We're going to take a look at all the action this weekend and give you our best bets. My name is James Stevens. Joining me on the show this week, we've got Jonny Pearson, Unibet Brett Williams, and Robbie Wilders, our top tipster. What we've got on the show coming up, well, we'll be looking at Ascot, where it is the Shergar Cup. Of course, not everybody is a big fan of these team competitions, but we've got a top tipping team. We're going to try and get you as many winners as we can. The only team that really matters this weekend. We'll also be going to Haydock. 2 races there, including a Rose of Lancaster Stakes, a Group 3 race where all the big guns and plenty of familiar names are in action. And we'll be heading to Newmarket for the Sweet Solera, where there's a dark horse in the 1,000 guineas market, with Billy the Kid given a huge opportunity. Let's get straight into this weekend's action. It's the Shergar Cup. We're going to have a spin through all 6 races. This is, of course, the big team format where different jockeys from around the world will be turning up riding. Now, at this point in time, we're recording on Thursday afternoon. We're not entirely sure who's going to be riding for which team, but fear not, we're just going to try and pick out the best horses and the best winners. Hopefully, we can find them. Let's start off then. We're going to go straight through the card in time order. Our first race is at 1:35. It's the Dash, and he picked a 66th run winner of the July Cup. Robbie Wilders, we're in another big sprint. What have you got for us?
Hi, James. Yeah, another interesting race to start us off. There's a couple of class angles here. I thought 7 questions was quite interesting. He's going to eventually pick up a decent race for Robert Cowell, I think. He's a Group 3 winner. He's down to 97. He didn't run too bad in the Stewards Cup. But I'm not sure. But I'm quite interested in Manakan here. He's also come down a little bit in the weights. He's a 2-time course and distance winner. He returned after a very long absence in the King's Stand, King Charles III, I should say. Didn't show much there. Didn't show too much either, admittedly, at Sandown, the Coral Charles next time. But he's taken a big drop in class. Just to return to Ascot down in grade, I could see him going quite well off the mark of 100.
Okay, so we are starting off with Manakan in the 1:35. That's Team Postcast, hoping to be the winningmost team at the Shergar Cup. Let's move on to the 2:10. Brett, a big weekend for Unibet, I suppose. There's all sorts of action across the world. Are we going to see some sort of like offers for those who want to get involved with team bets and top jockeys and the like?
Yeah, as you said, we're just sort of waiting to find out who's going to be riding what and who's in what team. So yeah, as I said, go onto the website unibet.co.uk. All of the specials will be available literally as you're watching this now. You can go on there and get all the latest. But yeah, no, it's a good card, isn't it? As you said, some people like it, some people hate it. I think it's interesting enough. Dancing in Paris is favourite with us for the Stayers contest at 2:10, where we are in fact price boosting the favourite there. One of 2 runners in the race for Ian Williams, who's also got Enemy, who's a much bigger price. Both those 2 horses are engaged in the Ebor up at York in a couple of weeks' time. Dancing in Paris, obviously the shortest of those duo. My only concern for Dancing in Paris, he's a real tough horse. He's real gutsy and he tries his heart out, but he's had quite a lot of runs in quite a short space of time. Of course, he went down fighting at Goodwood last week. So if he's over those exertions, I saw him this morning. Actually, he looks well. He's still quite a king going sort. If he is over those exertions, he'd obviously be quite hard to peg back. But I think there might be just a few others who you could give a bit of a case to. I like Alma Hit, who's a decent hurdler, a decent flat horse as well. He's got some rock solid form, and obviously Spirit Mixer, who finished ahead of Dancing in Paris at Newcastle. It's an interesting little race. As I said, we are price boosting the favourite there. And he mentioned that Dash at 1:35. If you back the second or the third in that, you're going to get your money back as cash as well.
Perfect. Let's bring you in, Jonny, on the Stayers race. What's your selection here?
There's 2 I like in the race, and currently I'm not sure who's riding them, which doesn't help matters. But the first one is the Jesse Harrington horse, La Vita Nova. It's only had 6 runs in a lifetime, I think, and was a bit free last time. They've put cheek pieces on for the first time. Going back up to 2 miles is sure to suit her, and I think she just looks a bit of a big price for a horse that's been running pretty well, albeit without winning in her last few runs. And the other one is ran well at Ascot just a couple of weeks ago, and that's Fireblade for Dylan Cunha. It was Sandown the time before. He was second behind a horse called Pendragon, his Mark Presser horse, who just keeps on improving and going up in the weights. And that was a pretty decent run, beaten just over 4 lengths, and then ran well behind well fancied. Is it Jim Boyle? Jim Boyle horse called Many Men at Ascot a couple of weeks ago. Similar performance to that, should go very close in this race.
Okay, 2 selections for Jonny. We're getting ourselves well sorted for the stairs. We're going to continue our charge. Let's go to the Shergar Cup Challenge. This is a race over a mile and a half. Can often be a good guide to races later on in the season. Robbie, let's come to you on this one. What's the thinking here?
Yeah, it's an interesting race. I thought Dramatic Star was quite interesting on his return this season. I didn't expect him to be so short in the market, though, but I guess that's because of the promise he showed last season. William Haggis, he can get him ready first time out, and Haggis does like to target this meeting, but Dramatic Star really has just got a very interesting profile. He was sent off favourite for 2 major staying handicaps last season. That one at Haydock, where he slipped badly around the turn, he put a line through that. And then he was sent off favourite in the Melrose at York. He just got all worked up beforehand. I'd again forgive that. He quickly atoned for that sort of mishap by winning quite comfortably at Newcastle. He's got the scope to get better, I think, off a mark of 89. He's very well bred. His dam was Group 2 placed, and I could just see him taking off this season. And I thought it was interesting as well. He's got an entry in the Ebor next month. So if he's going to make that, it's actually this month, isn't it? If he's going to make that, he's going to have to get a lot higher up in the weights than 89. So I thought he was quite interesting.
Yeah, could well be a stepping stone, and William Haggis won this only a few years ago. So Dramatic Stars selection for Robbie. What do you like in this one? Jonny, you've got a selection for us.
Yeah, there's one at a bigger price, Houston for Richard Hannon. I think it was beaten 10.5 lengths at Windsor a couple of runs back. It's not the best form when you're beaten 10 lengths, but the form's working out pretty well. Westridge went and won at Goodwood last week. Anderleap went and won at Sandown, I think it was, or maybe somewhere else, I can't remember, but it won. It was Yarmouth even. And Whisper actually ran pretty well at Goodwood like himself last time. And I think it's a pretty good piece of form herself even. It's a good piece of form. Houston then went to Ascot over a mile and a half, not beaten too far behind Mount Atlas. And that was with blinkers on for the first time that day. They kept on here today, which saw improvement. Mark's still slipping a little bit, and I think he can run a big race at a bit of a price against the rest of these here.
And for Jonny Delahaye, who of course has so many winners at Ascot over jumps, perhaps he's going to have a big priced outsider at Ascot on Saturday. Let's move on to the 320. This is the sprint. And Brett, let's go to you. What do you like here?
Yeah, I actually quite like the pace here. If you look at its form's got some, really rock solid. I think the step back up to, or step back down, I should say, to 6 furlongs was Suit. It's a course and distance winner. Likes fast ground. Got the headgear on for the first time. And if you look at its form when it beat 2 Tribes at Newmarket, that's obviously quite strong now, because that also has come out and won 2 big handicaps, the Stewards Cup and that race at the International at Ascot on King George Day. So that's really strong form. It is a career high mark to defy, but he is improving. As I said, be interesting to find out who gets the job of doing the steering, because I think could be quite a smart sort. And as I said, still on the upgrade. So up the pace for me in a race again where we have got price boosts for you. So lots of good offers with Unibet.
Well, he should be a good sprinter given that name, Brett, and he's got first-time cheap pieces on as well, I see. Robbie, you're going to put one in for this one as well.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, I'm really interested in this Prince of India. He's about 4-1 at the moment, but I could see him going off quite a red-hot favourite, to be honest. He was a really impressive winner of a very warm race at Newmarket last time. 17 run a handicap. He's won it by the best part of 4 lengths. I mean, the handicap has reacted to the corner. He's gone up £11, but that's always a good race. I remember a couple of years ago, Quinault won it. He beat Millstream, who was a Group 1, when he beat Washington Heights, who ended up winning good races. It's not often you see a competitive sprint won in that fashion. And to me, this looks like a fairly weaker race, fairly weak field handicap. Marco Botti's put him in the champion sprint, which is interesting, considering how that division's looking. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he ended up in a race like that. And I think he's going to be contesting much better races than this down the line, and he's still well handicapped off 98 for me.
Strong selection from Robbie, Prince of India. We're going to move on to the penultimate race. This is the classic over a mile and a half. We've got a strong William Haggis favourite. We've already got a William Haggis horse in the postcast team for Shergar Cup Day. And Brett, you really want to be on this favourite, right?
Well, I was looking at the fields, obviously, when they came out after decorations, and you keep looking at these horses, and they all seem to be, the ones that I seem to fancy are all trained by William Haggis. And I thought, well, he's probably not going to have Well, he could, but it's unlikely he's going to have 4 or 5 winners on the card. But I do think Tenability has got real strong credentials here. I was very impressed with him at Ascot last time on his first run in a handicap, and indeed his first run over this trip. So he's clearly a very progressive source. I mean, he's short enough in the betting. You're not going to get rich back in him. He's around sort of 11 to 8. But as I said, I think he could be quite interesting. And to me, doesn't look perhaps the strongest opposition against him as well. I think he could definitely be ahead of the handicap. So as I said, it's not an inspiring selection, but Tenability for me in what is a classic at 3.55 at Ascot.
Well, it's a 1.5 mile race for 3-year-olds, Brett. That's why. And Tenability for William Haggis, course and distance winner last time. Strong selection from Brett there. And our last race is the Shergar Cup Mile, where, Robbie, it's back to you. Finish us off.
Yeah, I'm interested in Arasade for this, James. I was really sweet on her for the Golden Mile at Goodwood last week. Didn't run in that when the ground sort of turned. It went from good to heavy in the space of half an hour. Well, I'm not sure it was that bad at all, to be honest. But she didn't run. She likes a fast surface. Thought her last performance at Sandown was an eye-catching effort. The horse who won Classic is a real Sandown specialist, and she was much the best of the horse that held up that day. She's got a lot of decent efforts at Ascot before. She went very close in a good mile handicap early in the season. And I just think eventually she's going to win quite a decent prize. She also ran well here at Royal Ascot last season in the Sandringham. And yeah, I think she's on a good mark for the Johnsons, and you're getting a fairly good price still. Yeah,
she's certainly been knocking on the door for some time. That's Arasade. Just before we wrap up Shergar Cup, Jonny, we know you like racing across the world. We've got huge international names across the race cards. A lot of people maybe watching ITV might not necessarily know some of these riders from across the world. Who should we keep an eye out for? Is there anyone who perhaps could slip under the radar on Saturday?
Probably won't slip under the radar, but Karis Teeton rides out in Hong Kong. Been doing pretty well out there. Hugh Bowman, obviously a very well-known Australian jockey. He was the rider of Winx, obviously won a load of races. And for those who are more of a fan of your reality TV shows and whatnot, Robbie Dolan actually did very well on The Voice Australia, but that obviously did win the Melbourne Cup last year as well. But I think the singing's very much senior fans will like to see a bit of support come for him, I reckon, for people who saw those performances.
Yeah, I wonder what price he is to end up on the big after party later on. Brett, I'll be interested to know if you can price that up. Might be quite short. And Brett, just remind us what sort of bets we'll be offering, because obviously it's a different weekend with this team format.
Yeah, so we've got the silver saddle, which is the winning jockey, or the jockey who accumulates the most points. You can have obviously bet on that. Also the top team. As I said, all those prices will be coming out in due course. Plenty of other specials as well. But as I said, it's a bit early at the moment. When we know who's riding what, then of course the picture will be a lot clearer.
Sure will. Well, look, just spin you through what the postcast team is going to be for the Shergar Cup. In the 135, the dash, we're with Manakan, Robbie Wilders' selection. The 210 stayers, Dancing in Paris, and Johnny's put up two, La Vita Nova and Fireblade. The 245, the challenge, we've got Dramatic Star and Houston at a huge price. 320, Prince of India and Up the Pace. 355, Tenability, the strong favourite, and Arasade, hopefully completing our 6-timer in the 430. We're going to be going to Haydock and Newmarket for some real high-quality group races just after this short break. Okay, on to part 2 of the show. We're going to go to Haydock, where there is some real high-quality group racing to look forward to, including the Rose of Lancaster Stakes. We've got plenty of familiar names. Got key runners from Juddmonte, Godolphin, and Wafnan Racing. A real quality race, and again, a bit of a pointer towards the second part of the flat season. Your favourite at 11-4, though, is Detain. Ross O'Ryan bidding for his first winner for the John and Fady Gosden partnership at 11-4. Hartem at 3-1. Royal Dubai, the recent Newbury winner, 100-30. Military Order, Tom Marquand and Charlie Appleby, a bit of a odd link up there, 5-1. Okachubi at 11s, Haunted Dreams, another one for Wafnan at 12s. First Conquest for Godolphin at 16s, and Certain Lad 20-2-1 outsider. Brett, there's been a fair bit of movement in this market. What can you tell us?
This is actually a really interesting betting heat. I mean, you said 11-4 favourite to 10, and it's 3-1, 135-1. So it is quite a wide open heat. We are super boosting the field in this race from 9 o'clock on Saturday morning. The money horses here, number 7, Royal Dubai, being very, very strong, was 9-1 when entries first came out for this race, now into 130. And also you touched there on the two Godolphin runners, Military Order. That one now 5-1 from 9s as well. So strong support for both those two in the race. I mean, Royal Dubai is obviously a very interesting contender. Was impressive at Newbury on his first run for Owen Burrows. Be interesting to see if he can sort of continue on that sort of upward trajectory. If you look at his train, he's sort of gone, started off Bupat Seymour, then went to Marco Botti, then Lucia Botti, then back to Marco Botti, then Lucia Botti, now to Owen Burrows. I'll tell you what, he's been in every stable bar Bethlehem and so Royal Dubai, but he's now based with Owen, and he's a horse who's obviously got to perhaps step up again from that victory last time at Newbury, but he's clear in the right hands, and Owen's horses are running well. Just spoken to Richard Hannon with regards to Hatem, of course, who runs in the race, and stepping back up in trip, having ran. I thought he actually was quite unlucky not to finish a little bit closer than he did in the Group 2 Summer Mile last time at Ascot. Sean sort of got boxed in, then had to switch, and by then, the winner at the Bird had flown. But he could be quite interesting stepping back up in trip, but he's just not looking perhaps the most consistent this term, is he, Hatem? And the other one, just to give a mention to, would be First Conquest, when the two runners in the race for Godolphin. Very lightly raced. This horse always seems to slip under the radar, but he's a winner of 4 of his 8 races. Only had 1 run this season. That was in the Earl of Sefton behind Persica. And a lot of people are going to be focusing on Military Order, but I wouldn't be surprised to see First Conquest run a nice race. But it's an open betting heat, and we are super boosting the field from 9 o'clock on Saturday.
So what would be your selections, Brett? Just to whittle you down for one?
I like Royal Dubai. Just think he could be. He's had lots of runs, but I just think he's in good form at the moment. So expect him to go well.
Royal Dubai for Brett. Now, Robbie, this is an interesting time of year, isn't it? Because you've got the 3-year-olds taking on the older horses, the weight allowances, as we know. Do you have a favourite that you sort of tend to go for, i.e. the improving 3-year-olds or those with proven form that perhaps are a bit older and having to concede weight?
Yeah.
Because it is a conundrum at this time of year, isn't it?
It is. It's an interesting question. It kind of depends on the profile of horse. Like in here, you've got Detain, who, if he hadn't run at Royal Ascot last time, I'd probably really fancy him. But I don't see how you can get involved after what happened in the Hampton Court. I thought he ran awfully. It was nothing like his really good effort in the Prix Jockey Club before that. I'm against him. Of the older horses, I think, Royal Dubai is interesting. I agree with Brett there. It wasn't the most strongly run race over mile 2 at Newbury last time, though. If this is run at a decent pace, he might have his stamina to prove over an extra half furlong as well. I just thought Military Order was interesting. I thought he ran really well behind Hatem at Royal Ascot. Just found himself with nowhere to go up the inside. He had on paper, he had an all right draw and stall 10, but it kind of ended up being quite a bad draw. And throughout the week, Charlie Appleby's horses, with the exception of Rebels Romance and Harwood, weren't really running great. But I thought Military Order was one who very much ran a career best on turf for sure. He's been sort of pigeonholed in a weather horse, but I think there's definitely more to come from him on a bit of false ground on turf. He's still quite lightly raced, and to me, he can definitely serve up to Hatem, who he's got a couple of lengths to find with on Royal Ascot form.
Yeah, he's a 5-1 chance with Unibet is Military Order. Johnny, what's the selection here?
As with Robbie, I've come down on the what was the race at Ascot they were in? The same race. The Wolferton, yeah. I've come down with the Wolferton form, but not Hatem. It's not Hatem. It's a different Wafnan horse, Haunted Dream, that's caught my eye. He finished 16th to 16 in the race, which was on his first run back since February. But it doesn't tell the story. He was almost brought down against the rail and in a nice position behind Nth Jarch, finished 4th eventually, I believe. He was still travelling pretty well. Still looked to have loads in the locker, and with a better clear ride, I think he could have gone very close to winning. Like, you can look at his run in Saudi Arabia back in February in Group 2. He had Shin Emperor win that day, is a Group 1 horse. There's no doubting that. And you had Amrifer finishing in 3rd, 1 place ahead of him. He's obviously got on to absolutely bolt up an island the other day. He's a sort of Group 1 horse as well. He won the where is it, the German Derby or Prix of Von Berlin or whatever it is last year. And I think he's potentially got very solid piece of form and might be getting overlooked a bit in the market here. And for me, he's far too big a price and definitely want to have a bet each way.
Yeah, each way shout at 12-1 is Haunted Dream for Wafnan. The other race at Haydock we'll be looking at just quite quickly is the 225, a listed race for fillies. No selection for you, Jonny. For you, Robbie, should I say. Jonny, you do have a strong view here.
I've got a view. I think Chihuahua is short enough price given she's had one run in this season in March, and before that her last run was in October 2023. So I'll be looking to take her on because you don't know, okay, she had good form previously. We don't really know quite what ability there is in their protest. I mean, I can see cases for a lot of these, but I think Sunfall's perhaps been a bit overlooked in the market. It was disappointing on Derby Day at Epsom, but it was a good winner at Ascot in October last year. And her run at Epsom was her first run this season. And I'd be disappointed if she can't put that behind her to go and run a big race here. And again, at a price, I think she looks very good at each way bet. Another one where I'm hoping Daniel Tudhope can do very well for me.
Yeah, hoping for a big double for Danny Tudhope. And you're quite in a forgiving mood here at Haydock, Jonny. 2 you're willing to give a chance to, I see. So let's hope it works in your favour. Sunfall is 11-1. Brett, have you got a view on this race?
No, not really. No, I'll leave it to you.
Okay, well, we'll see if you have a fancy at Newmarket. The 340 at Newmarket beats Newell's Park Stud, Sweet Solera Stakes, Dance to the Music, 33-1 for the 1,000 guineas. Is she going to win on Saturday, though? We'll find out. Well, Unibet have her at 11-8, Venetian Lace at 4-1, Midnight Tango at 5s, Ride for Oisin Murphy, Princess Petrol at 6-1, Sapphire Steps at 8s, and True Test at 11. Robbie, I mentioned Dance to the Music. She's 11-8 favourite here. Fairly short, I guess, in the market. Guineas.
Just a bit.
See that sort of horse?
No, to me, that's an awful price. You fill your race card on RPRs. She's bottom on RPRs. She's had a long time. She had only 3 months off, which is unusual for a juvenile that was out quite early. She was meant to run at Ascot a couple of weeks ago. Vet certificate ruled her out. I don't know. I could just see her finding this up against it, really. This isn't too bad a race, to be honest. I thought one that could go well was Sapphire Steps for Richard Hannon. Another once maiden winner, but that was at least recent form. She only ran a few weeks ago. She ran a better RPR than much better RPR than Dance to the Music did in her maiden. And it's a maiden that the Hannon Yard have a pretty good record in. Like they ran a Trillium in it a couple of years ago, won it, went on to win the Moulcombe and the Flying Childers. A horse in 2020 they won it with who was sent off favourite for this race. And the Sapphire Step seems to have been a bit overlooked for me. She won this maiden at Newbury quite impressively, I thought. There's an even money favourite, well beaten. I often think Newbury maidens are quite strong. And yes, she's got a bit to find, but I don't think, for all it's an all right race, I don't think there's really anyone that showed themselves to be a proper group performer. So I could definitely see her take a big step forward for Rich Hammond. Sapphire Steps for me.
8-1. Now, Brett, we should include you here because we know you, of course, Unibet is the man. Unibet is the place to go for Richard Hannon's thoughts. What's the verdict on Sapphire Steps?
Well, you know, Richard, you probably know him as well as I do, James. He's not afraid to say what he thinks of his horses, is he? I actually did speak to him before this filly made a debut at Newbury and said, what do you think? And he said, she's a real smart filly. She's quite big. He said he does expect her to improve for that first run. So I think the fact she managed to sort of just win it, obviously on raw ability, suggests that she could be very, very smart. As Rob has already alluded to, they've got a good record in that Newbury maiden. I think the horse he won this race with a filly called Flying Miss Helen.
Yeah.
And then she went off favourite for this, and I think she broke her leg or something. Obviously, she was sadly put down, but she was supposed to be an absolute flying machine. Whether this filly would have been perhaps as good as her, we don't know. But she's done obviously nothing wrong in that one run. And Richard's won this race twice before. So, she's steady away around sort of 8-9-1 Sapphire Steps. But I agree with your thoughts for the favourite there, Dance to the Music. The fact we haven't seen her since the middle of May is obviously questionable. And there might just be a few other horses that have improved past her, notably Midnight Tango. I mean, okay, she's she's not looking exposed, but she's got a lot of experience, and we probably don't quite know how good she is. But that was a good effort in the Princess Margaret at Ascot last week. She's making a reasonably quick reappearance, but she's got Ocean Murphy on board, which is obviously a very positive jockey booking. But no, it's an interesting race, and we will be top industry price every single runner in this, so you will definitely get the best value with Unibet. That is for sure.
Very good. And for any of you listening along, when Brett started talking about Richard Hannon thinking quite highly of Sappho Steps, there was a smirk from Robbie Wilders. He was very happy to hear that, and I'm not surprised. 8-1 is the current price. We'll see what happens come Saturday, but I wouldn't be surprised if that price perhaps shortens just a little bit. We'll get on to our best bets after this short word from our sponsors.
Want betting on the horses to be anything but flat? With an app that impresses every time out. You're on. Want to watch live streaming of races in the UK, Ireland and around the globe? And get a chance to win even bigger with 3 Uniboosts every day on any horses you want. Unibet. You're on.
It's that time to have a look at the Saturday action and pick out our very best selections. We're going to start with you, Robbie. What is the one bet for you this weekend?
Yes, James. The one for me is the 320 Ascot, Prince of India. I think this could be a potential Group 1 off.
Johnny?
It's going to be in the Rose of Lancaster Stakes, 3 o'clock at Haydock, and it is Haunted Dream.
I haven't put mine in yet, but I'm going to go for EBT's Guard in the 4:30 at Ascot. That's the last race on Shergar Cup. Data's Horse was second at Goodwood last week. Just feel he's going to be better at Ascot, and hopefully we get a good booking and can continue a good start to the season for Muir and Grassic. Finish us off, Brett. What's the nap?
Yeah, I'm going for tenability in the Shergar Cup Classic at 3:55 at Ascot. A progressive sort. Very impressive last time over course and distance, unexposed over this trip, and could be potentially smart in the race where we are price boosting the favourite there as well.
A little bit of a bonus for us all. Thank you very much to this week's panellists. That's Brett Williams from Unibet, Robbie Wilders, our top tipster, and Jonny Pearson. And thank you as well to you for watching along. Do make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the Racing Post. And let us know what you think. If you've got a selection, have we missed anything out on the Shergar Cup card? Don't hesitate to let us know if we're potentially going to miss one. Do join us again at 7 o'clock next week. We'll be looking at all the action on Saturday, including the Hungerford Stakes, which is the highlight there, and we'll be gearing up for a huge few days at York. But as for now, have a great weekend, goodbye, and of course, gamble responsibly.